Hello everybody, this is Gareth Cahoon Speaks back here with another video. I'd like you to hit the subscribe bar, give me a thumbs up if you like the video, or hit the notification bell to be notified when I post my next post. Or you can look me up at my website, which is www.garethcahoon.co.uk. Or if you super like the ministry and would like to donate, you can do so through PayPal, garethcahoon3@gmail.com. The funds will go towards helping Israel to be strong during the war and other Christian relief efforts. Palestine must have been freed. Did we miss one of the greatest events of our time, the freeing of Palestine, or Israel as it is otherwise known? Looks that way because no one is crying out anymore for Palestine to be freed, so it must have happened while we weren't paying attention. Those blue-haired, nose-ringed, woke young men and women are no longer filling up the streets, waving their red and white, black and green flags, crying over the tragedy of Gazans at the hands of their wicked Israeli oppressors. No, it's been swapped out for the latest social grievance of coming to the defence of illegally migrant child rapists and murderers whose reputations have been laundered to the status of upstanding neighbours. Apparently, the shelf life of suffering Palestinians is only good for 2 years, and 3 months after that it becomes old and stale. Yasser Arafat must be turning in his grave. After all, he is the father of the faux Palestinian movement who devoted his life work to coming up with the PLO, or the Palestinian Liberation Organization, cause the goal was to draw attention to the suffering people who refused to share the land which had been partitioned to accommodate two sovereign nations per the UN vote of 1947. But wait, there's more. Egyptian born Arafat propelled and advanced the narrative of this manufactured injustice by excelling at being the consummate poster child for the rights of Palestinians. Awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1994, it was never clear why a man who was denounced by Islamic rivals as having been corrupt would be worthy of such an honour. Never having brought a better life to those he claimed to champion, his successors continued to exploit the marginalised people whom they cynically used in order to squeeze out world sympathy money and every type of concession possible. Succeeding well beyond Arafat's wildest dreams, they were able to amass great wealth and live in the lap of luxury while the 20-year back-breaking tunnel construction proceeded, all towards the apparition of Israel's final destruction. Not a moment's thought was given to life obvious repercussions which would ensue, negatively impacting upon the Gazans whose loyalty trusted their benefactors and would be saviours. Enter the ignorant woke who came to the rescue of the people that foolishly sacrificed their sons for the lost cause of eliminating the Jewish homeland. Unable to put the puzzle pieces together, these pathetic social justice warriors could not critically examine the history of these people, their own harmful attitudes towards Israelis, and the indifference shown by their leaders. Nor could they figure out that one of the longest and most successful scams had been pulled off by unprincipled Arabs who found a way to maximize lazy, uneducated activists whose lives only have meaning when they become valiant heroes for the disenfranchised. The only problem that they always chose the wrong side rather than looking at all of the employment opportunities offered to by Israel to empower Gazans and others living in Judea and Samaria so that they could have a better life. Israel was assigned the role of the oppressor. It was so much easier than unraveling the truth. Let's not forget that it's also served to foment the anti Semitism, an extra added bonus. But what happens when your cause is trumped by another one which threatens to be exposed and unpended by smart investigators who have unearthed an even bigger scam. It means the marginalised and oppressed are once again abandoned and left to fend for themselves. Beyond the defence of the fake, injustice is only good until another more pressing fake injustice must be covered up. And this is one which is persistently happening in Somali ridden Minnesota. It's the new cause celebrity which must take president front and centre, relegating all others to take a back seat. The upside is that it temporarily relieves pressure on Jews and the state of Israel. But make no mistake, it always returns on the head of the Jews because somehow they always end up being the most reviled of society, needing to absorb the blame for whatever goes wrong. So while Be Good label pins and mass produced to honour Renee Good, the professionally trained Minnesota activist who defied CE agents but ended up dead as she was shot over one of them. The mixed assortment of woke anarchists will quickly move on to the next urgent defence of the oppressed of the mouth, which leads us to ask how legitimate was the cause of the upholding and backing of the people of Gaza, many of whom would happily remain under the control of the same Hamas terrorists who embittered their lives. In other words, what happens to individuals who consistently make bad choices which lead to their ruin? Should they continue to be called out, bailed out so that they can repeat their mistakes? Here's another question. Should these oppressed rely on fair weather redeemers who are able to turn their backs on them and walk away from their suffering at a moment's notice as if it was never important in the first place? Now they have been forced to turn their attentions to providing cover for the consequences of mass illegal immigration, which allowed hardened criminals to come in and frequently steal from the US government to the tune of billions. The plight of Gazans pales by comparison. The cries for free Palestine have instead been replaced by expletive-laden demand for ICE law enforcement to leave their cities. One young woman arrived at a protest with her baby, citing those who were asked with rounding up the illegal criminals. In her words, she vowed to continue her commitment of loving her neighbours, apparently despite their heinous crimes. But it is not only the arrest and deportation of these criminal migrants which has the Free Palestine crowd worried, as the disclosure of a multi-billion-dollar Somali scandal was uncovered, rocking Minnesota, as well as other similar potential scams in other states. Agitators and activists must switch their focus to where it's most needed. If that's at the expense of the Gaza, so be it. Just chalk up the orphaning of the former oppressed wards in favour of the greater good to make sure that the real injustice never prevails. It's all part of a hard day's work for the useful idiots who never believed in their free Palestinian cause in the first place. If they did, they wouldn't have happily dropped it for the next needy victim. This is so true, and the Free Palestine movement has been fake from the beginning. They don't really care about the Palestinians. All they care about is getting the money that they get from George Soros and other stupid individuals who are willing to fund terrorists and crazy individuals. You can tell by the signs they carry, they're all the same. It's a movement and it should be stopped. Free Palestine from Hamas. Shalom. Maranatha. Hallelujah.